This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Here is Iran, the ancient country, even older than history, the land of culture, science and art, the land of kindness. Here is Iran, with brilliant sunlight and sparkling nights, with mountains, seas, jungles and fields. Here is Iran. We invite you to visit at once all of the beauties of the world here in Iran.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Global Village. I'm Buddy Kunanan. Folks, on this show, we take you around the world. You see amazing places and meet interesting people. Today, we're featuring Iran, a beautiful country, and it is the world's 18th most populous country. It's the second largest in the Middle East and the 17th largest overall in the world. And now, Iran is a fascinating place. It's a home of the very old, very ancient Persian civilization, one of the most significant and rich cultures in human history. And it has influenced many nations and civilizations far and wide, from Western Europe, Arabian Peninsula, to South and Southeast Asia. And tonight, joining us in a magical journey to Iran and through the Persian civilization is none other than the ambassador of Iran, of the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Philippines, His Excellency Mohammed Tanhai. Ambassador?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me to your very nice program. It's my pleasure to be here with you, and my best hello and regards to your viewers, of course, the Filipino people.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for
Thank
coming
you
to the
very
show.
much.
And this is a special program, and I say this all the time, it's a special program because Iran really is a country that I personally have not visited, although I've wanted to go for a long time, and because it is really the seat of so much rich history and culture that it is my pleasure now to introduce to the audience, the Filipino viewers. Now, before we talk about your fascinating country, Ambassador, let's talk about you. Who is Ambassador Tanhai?
Yeah, this is my first ambassadorial mission to this country, to this beautiful country, and it's my very great pleasure to be here in the Philippines. I'm here for more than 2 years. Before coming over, I've been assigned, of course, to some other countries in this region, like Japan, China, New Zealand. So actually, I spent much, or maybe most of my career, diplomatic career, on this region. I mean, Asia Pacific region, and I really enjoyed to work in this area and work on this area. I mean, on this very diversified cultural countries that is in Asia. So I really enjoy living in the Philippines. Philippines is a great country for me. From very beginning, when I was a child, I heard a lot about Philippines, especially two names, Clark and Subic. They've been always in my mind. They were always in my mind. From very beginning, so I was interested in Philippines to come over and touch this country by myself. So I'm so happy that I'm here now.
How has your stay been so far? What do you enjoy most about the Philippines in the 2 years that you've spent here?
I enjoyed everything, but of course I have to complain a little bit about the weather because I came from a very snowy and cold area from Iran, so it's a bit difficult for me to get used to a warm and humid weather. But except that, everything is nice. The people are nice, the society nice, the nature is so beautiful. I love the nature of this country. And the most important thing for me is a very positive and friendly attitude of the people. So I always feel at home when I'm in the streets, when I'm among the Filipino people. They accommodate me very nice, like themselves. So the people are so resilient and so friendly. So that's why I always feel that I'm not a stranger here. I'm part of the society.
I heard that Iranians are also of the same temperament like Filipinos, very friendly and hospitable.
Exactly. The Iranians, of course, are outwarded people, hospitable, and they're interested in getting in touch relations and contact with the other cultures, other nations. We have some Iranians here. The Iranians and Filipinos can easily get along with each other, maybe because of the way of life, maybe because of the culture similarities between two nations. But anyway, we can easily live together.
How are relations, Ambassador, between the Philippines and Iran at present?
We have a very good relations. I have to tell that we have very nice relations. Our relations, of course, we have established diplomatic relations in 1964, almost 54 years ago. Since then, we established a kind of people-to-people and nation-to-nation contacts and friendship with each other. I mean, this aspect of our bilateral relations is very strong and very reliable. So actually, our people, our both nations, are the foundations of our bilateral relations, and they consist a very important and solid pillar of our bilateral relations.
Yes. What are the main exchanges, though, between the Philippines and Iran? I know that there are a lot of Filipinos working in Iran, and there's also quite a sizable community here in the Philippines. I think composed a lot of students coming here.
That's right. We have a number of students here, and we have a number of Iranians here. Some of them are living in this country for more than 4 decades. They got married to Filipino girls. They have children. They have grandchildren even. And some of them are very good and large businessmen here. So they have established very huge business and commercial entities in this country. So maybe hundreds of Filipinos are working with them, of course, or in their corporation or in their entities. So it is my pleasure that they've been able, the Iranians have been able to create so many jobs in this country. And they're even expanding their business. They're in construction, they're in industry, they're in different fields of business and commercial activities. So at the same time, we have, so the Iranian community here maybe is not that big, but they're strong.
Yes, yeah.
And they're committed to this country, to development and welfare and prosperity of this country. And at the same time, we have a small number of Filipinos living in Iran. Maybe most of them got married with Iranian girls or Iranian men. So they're living there and they're enjoying living in Iran.
So they've assimilated very well to Iranian society.
Yeah, exactly.
The same way that your Iranians
Exactly.
here.
They can easily adjust themselves. Iranians can easily adjust and adapt themselves in this community, and that the same to Filipinos in Iran.
Very good. What about trade, Ambassador? What is currently being exchanged commercially between Iran and the Philippines?
You know, we have actually we have two different figures on our bilateral relations. I mean, trade value. Based on the Filipino side, our bilateral relation is around 50 to 60 million US dollar per year. But based on the Iranian custom statistics, our bilateral relation is up to 200 million US dollar.
Okay.
Yeah, it's because the Iranian customs calculates all the commodities and goods coming from the origin, from the Philippines to Iran. But from the Filipino side, they just calculate just the goods and commodities that directly sending to Iran.
Okay.
But we understand so many Filipino goods are coming to Iran indirectly from India, from maybe Dubai.
Yes, transshipped.
Transshipped,
Yes.
that's right. So that's a difference. Why there is a difference between Iranian statistics and the Filipino figures. But mostly we are importing from Philippines.
What are you bringing in? What products
We
are
bring
reaching
a
there?
lot of agricultural products, like banana. We are one of the main importer of Filipino bananas in the Persian Gulf area. So banana is one of the most important items, and then we import coconut oil, or coconut products.
Interesting.
That's right. At the same time, other agricultural products, or even wood products, wood-made products, we are importing from the Philippines. So the balance of bilateral trade is in favor of the Filipino side, of course. We export some items to the Philippines, like some agricultural products,
yes.
like pistachio, saffron, maybe caviar, and some industrial products, maybe raw materials into this country. But anyway, in general, to the Iranian side, our bilateral relation is around 200 million US dollar in favor, of course, maybe 150 from Philippines to Iran, and around 50 to 60 from Iran to the Philippines.
Yes, yes. How interesting, huh? How interesting. How about opportunities for Philippine business in Iran? You know, you have a country of 81 million people. That's a big market, and you know, very dynamic, and you know, it's booming. You know, you've got a strong economy. And what are the opportunities for Philippine businessmen in Iran? What can they bring, or what can they establish there potentially that can sell?
You know, there is, yeah, good question. There is a lot of room for greater economic and commercial cooperations between two nations and countries. There is a growth that the Filipinos can do in Iran, I mean, business activities in Iran, because the Iranian market is quite open. And the room for investment, the room for mutual cooperation on different fields quite open. So we can establish a lot of joint ventures on different fields. The agriculture in both economy, I mean in Iran and the Philippines, can be quite complementary to each other. So we can import a lot of agricultural products from Philippines, and at the same time, we can export a lot of agricultural products to this country. Sometimes I see some of the foods that you import from the other countries, the price is sometimes up to 5, 6, 7 times than the same fruit or the same agricultural product that we produce in Iran. So it's absolutely in the benefit of the Filipinos to import from Iran, because the price is much cheaper, lower, and the quality is high. For example, in this market you have pomegranate. You import pomegranate, the price is maybe 30 US dollar per kilogram. The same pomegranate in Iran is just $1 per kilogram.
Wow, wow.
So you can import a lot. I'm a pistachio. You know, Iran is one of the main producers of a vast variety of fruits.
Absolutely.
Number
Yes,
one in the
yes.
world, for example, in terms of walnut, in terms of saffron, in terms of cucumber, to number 8 in so many other fruits, like oranges, like apples. And these are absolutely in the benefit of the Filipino economies and consuming people in this
Yes.
country to import from Iran.
I think, Ambassador, a lot of it is also lack of awareness, maybe, of the opportunities
Yeah,
that your
exactly.
country and the private
Exactly.
sector has to offer. Are there initiatives being carried out by, let's say, the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry to tie up with their partners in there? Because
That's right.
a lot of times it's these private groups getting together, getting to know each other, that really pave the way for increased commerce.
That's right. Unfortunately, we have some foregone opportunities. But anyway, we have started with the help and assistance of the Filipino side in order to fill the gap of misunderstanding or lack of knowledge on our economy or on Filipino economies. In both countries, it makes no difference. So we are trying to spread awareness of this economy in the Philippines and our economy so the people can understand each other better. People and businessmen can find each other and start their business in Iran or in the Philippines. That's right. We have already started, and we are laying foundations with mutual assistance with DFA, I mean Department of Foreign Affairs of the Philippines, Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines,
Yes.
and Secretary of Commerce of this country with the Iranian side. So soon will be witnessed that the bilateral relations in so many fields will be expanded and increased.
Very good. And actually, there's one group of businessmen here in the Philippines, and I hope to tie you up with these guys
Sure, of
someday
course.
or soon, is that the entrepreneurs. Because there have been a lot of very successful Philippine entrepreneurs who've started small food businesses, who have actually branched out and are now operating franchises in the US, Australia, and they're looking for markets that are non-traditional. And I think a market like Iran, 81 million strong, I mean, would be very attractive.
Exactly, and it's not just the only Iranian market. Filipinos and Filipinos businessmen can access to Central Asian markets through Iran because Iran can act like a bridge between Filipinos and Central Asian countries.
Definitely.
So the Philippines has a great opportunity in Iran in order to go beyond Iranian borders to access markets in Central Asia like Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan.
Very good point, Ambassador.
That's right.
Make it a gateway for Central
That's
Asia.
right. We
for
are
so many
absolutely open,
markets.
and we are ready to assist our Filipino friends
Very good.
to let them go to Central Asia.
Very good. Ambassador, we have paused for a break. When you come back, we'll talk more about Iran's position in the region. As you mentioned, it's always been a powerhouse, even historically, culturally, in Central Asia. And we're going to talk about that historical background leading up to where it is at present and how Filipinos can really use Iran as a base to access all these other markets. So guys, more of Iran and the civilization of Persia when Global Village returns.
Lotus blue shrines and turquoise tiles, footprints of history are here and there. People of different races and tribes happily live and work together. Here is the land of Islam, announcing love and freedom. Desiring peace and justice for people of the world. We invite
lights go on, the lights go off. When things don't feel right, down like a tired dog, licking his wounds in the shade.
Welcome back to Global Village. I'm Buddy Kunanan. Tonight's topic is, of course, Iran and the beauty of the civilization of Persia. And joining us, very honored to have him here, Ambassador Mohammed Tanhai for our second segment. Ambassador, welcome back for our second segment.
Thank you.
And you know, we've been showing all these beautiful videos of Iran. Stunning, stunning place. And we'll talk about tourism in a while. I actually can't wait to get to it. That's my favorite topic because I'm a traveler. But let's talk about where we ended our first segment. We were talking about how Iran is really the center of Central Asia. And that really is something that has been a historical fact because the whole of Central Asia, spreading out, you know, even towards some parts of, let's say, Turkey and all that, and we're all once upon a time part of the Persian Empire.
That's right, exactly. You know, the first empire in the world was established in Iran. I mean, Achaemenid Empire. It goes back to 500, 600 BC. So Iran is the home to at least 7,000 documented human civilization and human history. And of course, it goes back maybe to 12,000 undocumented history in Iran in that area. So yeah, that's right. Historically, Iran is among the maybe 10th civilization in the world. I mean, Chinese civilization, Egyptian civilization, Japanese civilization. So Iran is among the 10th civilization in the world. Very ancient country, very ancient world. And that's why today Iran is standing on that roots, very deep roots in the history. And we have experienced many, many ups and downs through our history from thousands of years ago until now. But anyway, we are happy that we have contributed a lot, not only to our region's civilization and culture, but of course we've contributed to the world civilization and to the mankind civilization.
Absolutely. Your contribution to poetry, to literature, to even things like when researching about Iran, I was pleasantly surprised that things that you would never think were origins from Persia, like example, the brick, even ice cream was the guitar, the game of backgammon, and so many other things really have traced their origins to Persia, to the Persian civilization.
That's right. No, of course, talking about the Persian civilization is something, and at the same time, maybe you can distinguish it from the Persian cultural. I mean, of course, it comes from the heart of that civilization. But the Persian culture is, there are some elements, there are some index to Persian culture, and some of the indexes and figures, of course, you have just mentioned. You've mentioned about the in musical instruments that created in Iran. You have talked about the language, Persian language, about the Persian hand script, and even today we have a very difficult art in Iran in the name of calligraphy. So, of course, it's not just in Iran, even in neighboring countries, in
Yes.
Turkey, in Pakistan, Central Asia, calligraphy is a very important art there. And there are some other aspects and dimensions of Persian civilization, and at the same time, Persian culture. For example, you can talk about the architecture.
Absolutely.
Persian architecture, I'm sure you have seen maybe in different videos or have seen some photos of that. Persian architecture is a very, very important aspect of Iranian culture. And you can see so many buildings in Iran after 500, 600, even 800 years, still there are standing there, and they're amazing because of the very characteristics that the old Iranians in ancient time they used in their construction of buildings.
Yes, yes.
You know, there are some elements, they're quite functional, they're quite accurate calculations, their porches, their columns, and the diversity used in the Iranian and at the same time you mentioned two very important points, Iranian and Persian literature.
Yes.
Actually, it's a kind of a spiritual contribution, intellectual contribution that Iranians made to the world civilization. We have hundreds of literature, we have hundreds of authors,
Yes.
we have hundreds of scholars with thousands of books on literature. And Iranian Persian literature, you know, consists of two different fields. One field is poetry, and
Yes.
another field is prose, of course. Poetry is so difficult, of course, and at the same time, one of the arts of the ancient Iranians.
And until today, poetry has such a special place in Iranian society and culture till today. And I understand that many Iranians can recite lines from famous Persian poems, such as there was a famous poem called Shahnameh,
Exactly.
or the Epic of Kings. But even until today, that tradition is being carried, which is, I think, a wonderful thing.
Sure. You know, in old and ancient Iran, scholars, literators, they've been actually, they've been converging, merging two arts with each other, or combining art of poetry with their science, with their knowledge to each other. Poetry in ancient Iranian was a container that Iranian authors, Iranian writers, and Iranian scholars put their thoughts, their opinions, their scientific findings in a poetry container. So it was quite natural at that time. So that's why you can find so many Iranian scholars, scientists,
Absolutely.
that they've been very, very clever and very outstanding in reciting poets.
Absolutely.
So they've been at the same time very famous poets, like Maulana, like Sadi, like Farabi, like Shahnameh. Shahnameh, you know, is the base of Iranian culture, one of the very, very solid base of Iranian, not only culture, but of course, ethnicity and identity.
Very nice, very nice. And you know, on a personal level, Ambassador, I just want to share with you, aside one of my other roles is I'm an honorary consul of Georgia.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
in Georgia, in Tbilisi, it's very famous for all the balconies. And this is something that Georgians attribute to their Persian heritage. All the balconies. It's something that they said is something distinctly that they got from their Persian ancestors.
So that's right. First of all, I have to congratulate Georgian people that they have an honorary consul like you. Because you are very energetic, very dynamic, and very clever and active. And at the same time, as I mentioned, that's the features of Iranian buildings, you know. They have balconies, they have columns. Actually, buildings in ancient Iranian was not just building a monument and that was all. No, it was a merging, it was a combination of art, religious approaches, and buildings, you know. All elements of cultural, religious aspects being merged to a building, to a monument. And that's why you still can look at the buildings after 700 years, after 800 years, and still give kind of impression from that buildings.
Yes.
Because it's a combination, convergence of religion, art, and buildings,
Yes.
architecture.
Yes, and your language has been so pervasive. And in fact, I understand that if you find yourself in a lot of countries in Central Asia and you speak Farsi, and it is somewhat like a universal language in these areas because you can get by in different countries by just knowing how to speak the language.
You know, Persian language, its roots goes back to maybe many thousands years ago, when the Aryan tribes came from Central Asia to Iran, from right side and left side of the Caspian Sea. Actually, they brought the very roots of the Persian language, Farsi. These days we call it Farsi, but we call it at the same time Persian. And Persian is spread all over in Iran, and not only in, the political and geographic borders of today Iran, but even in Central Asia and in neighboring countries. So Persian language is very rich in its historical developments. So many, of course, people in Iran maybe talk and speak different dialects, but the roots are the same. The roots are the Persian language.
So it's really possible to get by and understand what other people are saying if you have that basic foundation in Persian or Farsi.
You can go to Tajikistan, you can go to Uzbekistan and talk with those people living there in Persia.
Which is why making Iran a base for possible expansion into Central Asia makes sense because of all the cultural similarity and the ease of doing business.
It's a very important common that we have with our neighboring countries like Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Central Asian countries. That's something that all of people living in these countries, including Iran, have in common. It's one of the best and great similarities that we have.
Very good. Ambassador, when we come back for our third segment, we'll talk about tourism, and finally we can tell people and show them images and what a beautiful country Iran is. So guys, more of Iran and the civilization of Persia when Global Village returns.
which is a true maze of more than 11 kilometers of corridors. It might be surprising how modern Iran and especially Tehran is. Dan cafes and food places. The sixth largest tower in the world. Armin is taking me to the other side of town. Let's race down the Tochal on this track. A beautiful view of the city. Relaxed barbecue with friends and tea, of course, and a nice chat. This is how you get to know the culture in Iran, which is really recommendable. It's the second largest square in the world. The old streets of Isfahan.
Welcome back to Global Village. I'm Buddy Kunan, and tonight's topic is Iran and the civilization of Persia. And joining us still is Ambassador Mohammad Tanhai, Islamic Ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Ambassador, welcome back to the third segment.
Thank you.
Again, another nice video, this time through the eyes of a Western tourist showing people the beauty of your culture. Now, interestingly enough, I noticed from the videos that it's a mix, eh? I mean, you also have very ancient, obviously very ancient sites in Iran, but also very modern areas. And I understand Tehran is a highly urbanized city, and so this is something that would surprise a lot of people to see Tehran, place that to see a city, capital city like Tehran, like so modern and booming and just very built up.
That's right, exactly. The Iranian people, of course, try to keep the ancient and the old heritage they have, and at the same time, of course, they try to modernize the country, because there's no way you cannot escape from modernization, of course. But the most important thing is to keep your ancient and your old heritage. And this is something that we have done in Iran. Yeah, that's right. You can find so many parts in not only Tehran, in the capital, in so many other cities, big cities like Mashhad, like Isfahan, like Shiraz, that they're very modern, and the urbanization in some places are based on very modern standards in Iran, in Tehran, and some other places. You can touch both of them. You can touch ancient Iran and you can touch modern Iran.
What does modern Iran have to offer tourists, Ambassador?
In the field of modern of Iran, we've been able to produce, for example, a lot of Iranian handicrafts, mass production of Iranian handicrafts. We've been able to produce a lot of Persian carpet. Persian carpet is number one in the world.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of Iranian handicrafts. It takes maybe few or couple of months to produce a pot or to produce a copper photo of something.
Yes.
But nowadays, because of the modern devices and modern technology, we can produce Iranian handicrafts in mass production with, of course, much lower and cheaper price for the tourists.
Yes, interesting you should mention carpets, of which Persian carpets, very legendary, very famous. And I understand it's Iran's second largest export, or one of the biggest exports of Iran after oil are your Persian carpets.
I'm not sure about that, but Iran is the main producer of carpet. The Iranian carpet, they have their own originality.
Yes.
And they have Persian carpet, has its own specifications and figures because of the colors, diversity in colors, because of the quality of the materials, whether silk or wool, and because of the designs, because of the configurations, and because of the figures that shows this carpet is from Iran, from that culture. So many other countries are producing carpets. Of course, some of them are copying Persian carpet.
Yes, and probably the art of because the entire Central Asia, you know, Azerbaijan, Armenia, there are carpet making. Turkey, even Turkish carpets, also very famous. But I think probably the origin of all these of the art really is Persian culture.
The diversity of carpets that we produce in Iran is quite unique. So each province of Iran is producing its own special way of carpet weaving and producing its own special carpets. So it's quite unique because of the diversity, as I've told you, because of the quality of the carpets that we produce in Iran.
Yes, and some can be quite pricey, I understand. I mean, when you go to the high quality.
It is high quality, but it's to the quality that the people are offering, it's not that much expensive. You know, even some other countries are selling their carpets more expensive than Persian carpets. Even their quality is not the same.
Yes. Ambassador, how is tourism to your country? What are the tourism numbers like? Is tourism traffic increasing? And where do you get most of your tourists from?
Yeah, exactly. The traffic is increasing. You know, according to International Organization of Tourism, Iran ranks number 10 based on historical and cultural tourism. And on ecotourism, Iran ranks 5th in the world.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Right. Yes. That's right. So Iran is among the top 10 countries in the world regarding tourism. I mean, ecotourism, historical tourism, cultural tourism. So we receive, of course, millions of tourism each year, mostly from European countries. And then from neighboring countries, I mean, from Persian Gulf, or from Middle East or Central Asian countries, from Europe, especially from Europe, from Japan, from China, and some number, of course, of tourist groups from ASEAN. But the number is increasing, and we are preparing our infrastructure, hoteling, transportation, and so many other things to receive more tourists from outside world.
Ambassador, what about credit cards? Because I was planning to go to Iran a few years ago, and I heard back then, I don't know if this is the same situation today, that if you had a credit card, it might not work in Iran.
To be frank with you, I'm not sure about that. I have to check it. But in Iran, I'm aware that in Iran, we issue kind of bank cards or credit cards for travelers, for tourists who are coming to Iran. It's just a matter of few minutes.
Okay.
It's just a matter of few minutes.
So travelers don't have to worry about, because some people are not comfortable with cash.
Tourists need not to be worried at all, because the banks in Iran easily and immediately issue cash cards for the tourists, and they can carry those cash cards with themselves anywhere, in any place in Tehran. They can get money from the ATM machines and from so many bank branches that we have. There is no problem. And I have to let you know that it's quite cheap. Tourist activity and touristic activities in Iran is quite cheap. So it's quite cheap for a tourist to come over in Iran.
Cheaper than the Philippines?
Much cheaper than
Wow. And from what we've been seeing in the videos, amazing. I know, Ambassador, this is a loaded question, but if you were to advise, let's say, Filipino potential tourists now going to Iran, what are the must-sees? Let's say someone has 10 days. Where should one go? What are the sites that you would recommend?
It's very difficult question.
It's difficult
so
question.
difficult question.
Yes.
Because every single province of Iran has its own ancient and old history and heritage. So it's a pity if you go, for example, to province of Isfahan, and you will not be able to go to province of Kazvin, for example. But anyway, if they have 10 days, I suggest that they go to neighboring provinces of Tehran. I mean Isfahan, I mean Kazvin, Shiraz, Kerman, Qom. Qom as a very religious center in Iran.
Yes, yes. How many days would you say would be ideal to more or less get a feel of the country?
At least 20 days.
20?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's a good 3 weeks.
Because Iran, you know, Iran is a very diversified country from the point of climate and biosystem,
Yes.
biological system. Iran is a four-season country. So you can go to the northern part of Iran, just beside the Caspian shore, and feel the weather there is like the Philippines. Sometimes the temperature differences between different parts of Iran is 40 degrees. For example, you can go to the northwest of Iran for skiing.
That's
and
amazing.
That's a touching snowing fall.
That's
falling of
amazing.
snow. And at the same time, go to the southern part of Iran and go to swimming pool. So you really need time, enough time to touch all aspects and all provinces of Iran.
That's amazing. And to mention that you have skiing, because another interesting fact about Iran, Iran apparently has participated in the Olympics since 1948
Yeah.
and has been a regular participant, more or less, in the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, sure.
So that's also something that people
You know,
wouldn't
that's
expect.
right, exactly, because, you know, almost one third of Iran is mountainous area. And in these mountains, which are usually high, we have a lot of snow during the fall or winter time. So that was the sport of ski is quite natural in those areas. And so many people go in, for example, in Damavand area, or in Dizin, or in Abali for doing a ski.
And I assume very cheap, because
Very
compared
cheap,
to
yeah.
doing it in Europe, for instance.
Comparative to Europe, it's very, very cheap. So that's right.
Okay, this is another question I have for you, Ambassador. I have a personal interest in this, a very big personal interest. I love caviar. Is it readily available in Iran? And if so, is it cheap?
It's available in Iran. It's not that cheap, for example, as that pomegranate is,
Yeah.
but it's quite affordable. It's quite absolutely affordable. And you can find caviar in Iran in some special stores that are permitted to offer caviar, of course, to people. The quality, you know, is number one in the world. And the price is quite reasonable and affordable.
I mean, I'm
Don't
sure.
worry about that.
I'm sure much cheaper than what you would find here.
Absolutely, very
Absolutely.
much cheaper.
Yes. Ambassador, we have about a minute to close. Quickly, anything on the horizon for Philippine-Iranian relations? Any plans for this year and next? Maybe visiting delegations?
That's right. Of course, we have some delegations, of course, middle or high-ranking delegations from Iran to the Philippines or vice versa. We are just planning on those mutual visits, and we think within the coming years our bilateral relations in different fields, especially in the field of economy, will expand and increase dramatically.
Very good, Ambassador. Before we go, would you like to say something to the viewers?
I have to appreciate you to give me such an opportunity, you and your colleagues in GNN. At the same time, I'd like to invite all Filipinos to pay attention more to the Islamic Republic of Iran, directly, not through the Western propaganda, directly through their own channels, through their own, of course, media, and touch the realities of Iranian culture, ancient culture, and today culture. And I invite all the Filipinos to pay a visit to Iran, at least as a tourist, and I'm sure they will enjoy it.
I personally would like to go, and if there's a flight today,
You're invited.
I would like to get on a plane right now. But
You're
thank
welcome.
you, thank you, Ambassador, for this wonderful interview, and it's been very enlightening for me personally. I'm sure for all our viewers, and it's
pleasure.
given us a look into really the stunning beauty of your country and its very ancient culture.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and giving me time.
Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Thank you.
So guys, I hope you enjoyed our show today on Iran and the civilization of Persia. Join us again next week here on Global Village, and let us take you around the world. Till then, you all have a good evening.